to a former El Campo police sergeant. The border crisis worsens, especially in one Texas city, and the influx of migrants continues to increase. And the U.S. is still in the midst of a holiday travel surge, even as storms prepare to hit parts of the country.
We're staying dry, but we potentially will be below average with very chilly temperatures. We'll talk all about that and more, but first, here's Zach.
We have 3 area teams ranked coming into this week. I will have that in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker. Karina Garcia has the night off. New at 10, a fire in Victoria Tuesday afternoon. The Victoria Fire Department reports the fire was at 404 Tranquilo Drive at around 3:00 p.m. No one was at the house at the time of the fire. The cause of the fire is under investigation. Details of the Manville aggravated sexual assault case against an El Campo former police sergeant are now coming forward. The El Campo Leader News reports Freddie Douglas was released on a $100,000 bond after a birthday party in his honor turned violent last month. A woman at the party claimed she was sexually assaulted by Douglas at the party. There is no indication Douglas was involved in any illegal activity while on duty at the El Campo PD. The 13th Court of Appeals affirmed a jury's conviction and 50-year prison sentence of Devon DeBoard of Yoakum for his role in the 2019 murder of Schrader resident Margaret Tucker. The Goliad Advance Guard reports Justice Gina Benavides made the ruling. DeBoard had moved for a new trial, claiming the jury was racist. DeBoard had pleaded not guilty. He went to trial in May 2021 and was found guilty of murder. Optimum will pay to Texas $360,000 for poor customer service. Attorney General Ken Paxton told KXAN his office has received reports from residents who have noted a pattern of issues over multiple years with Optimum, including suspect billing practices, slow internet speed, frequent outages, poor customer service, and misleading promotional work. The company also agreed to address any issues in its customer service practices. DNA evidence helped lead to the arrest of a suspected Wharton County bank robber 2 years after the crime. The Wharton Journal-Spectator reports 63-year-old Robert Pullum was detained in Houston on an aggravated robbery warrant. Pullum is accused of robbing the Emoji Bank in East Bernard in April 2021 by using a bomb threat to force tellers into handing over their money. No one was harmed. Pullum also is a suspect in a Colorado County bank robbery, also in the spring of 2021. And now let's take a first look at your First Warn Storm Team forecast. In for Chief Meteorologist Mac Pettis. Meteorologist Howie Gordon joins us now with a look at what's going on outside. Howie, we don't have any chance for any kind of fog at all tonight, do we?
Well, we could have some. It won't last long. It'll move through pretty quickly, Don. We have the high pressure to trap the moisture, but that moisture that was trapped with our most recent fog a couple nights ago kind of fizzled out with the high pressure kind of drying us out, wringing us out. So if we do get the fog, very, very minimal. Won't even be patchy at best, so not going to be a problem. Biggest thing to be concerned about, though, is, our cooler temperatures. We can see these temperatures dropping maybe by Wednesday, Thursday night, Friday night, into the 30s. Some spots maybe even headed towards the freezing mark. But we'll touch more on that in my full forecast coming up in just a bit, Don.
Howie, thank you. 6 people were killed and 3 others injured when an SUV and a pickup truck collided head-on in North Texas. The fatal crash happened on a stretch of Highway 67 in Johnson County this afternoon. The injured victims were transported to Fort Worth area hospitals. Authorities have not released the names of the victims, and there is no word yet on the conditions of those injured. This comes hours after another crash on US 67 in Duncanville left one person dead. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick is threatening to delete President Biden from ballots in Texas. The Houston Chronicle reports Patrick was responding to the action taken last week by the Colorado Supreme Court, denying former President Donald Trump a spot on the state's 2024 Republican primary ballot. The ruling is sure to be appealed. Patrick said that Biden's handling of the border should be enough to kick him off the ballot in Texas. While thousands of migrants are entering the U.S. illegally, illegally every day. More than 11,000 migrants continue to wait in shelters and camps on the Mexican side of the border.
As a migrant caravan forms in southern Mexico with thousands from Central and South America, the scene on the U.S. southern border in Eagle Pass, Texas, has changed. The areas where thousands of migrants were waiting outdoors to be transported for immigration processing last week were emptied out this week. The flow this morning appearing to be down to a trickle. A senior Customs and Border Protection official telling CNN that while the scene in Eagle Pass has improved, the agency is not out of the woods yet. CBP still grappling with elevated numbers of migrant encounters on the U.S. southern border. More than 11,000 migrants are waiting in shelters in northern Mexico, 3,800 in Tijuana, 3,200 in Reynosa, 4,000 in Matamoros, many hoping to enter legally, but some opting to cross illegally, say community leaders. U.S. federal authorities reported a 7-day average of more than 9,600 migrant encounters in December. That number was 6,800 at the end of November.
Secretario de Estado, Blinken.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is scheduled to meet with Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador Wednesday in Mexico City. The Biden administration is expected to put pressure on Mexico to do more to stem the flow of migrants. To deal with the flow, CBP has temporarily suspended operations at several ports of entry in several states to reassign personnel to process migrants. This, as CNN learns from a CBP official, that the surge is in part driven by pseudo-legitimate travel agencies abroad that promise trips to the U.S. but instead connect travelers to smugglers south of the border. That might explain this recent scene in Arizona.
I work for CNN, and I'm wondering where you're from. What country you're from?
Senegal.
Senegal? 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 Everybody from Senegal?
Smugglers are dropping off 500 to 1,000 migrants in remote areas of Arizona, the official said, creating a logistical nightmare for Border Patrol agents who have to find ways to transport them for immigration processing. For the volunteers who distribute water to migrants in the desert, it's the children who get them every time.
It's heartbreaking when you see the little children.
As the Biden administration tries to impose legal consequences to illegal entry, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security says since May, more than 445,000 migrants have been deported or returned. That figure exceeds total removals in 2019. 56% of Texans support making it a state crime for a migrant to be in Texas. The latest Texas Politics Project poll shows strong support for the legislature's new major border security law. Even 27% of Democrats support the new state crime established under Senate Bill 4, which allows state police and judges to order migrants into Mexico. The poll found 41% of Hispanic Texans statewide support the measure, while 43% oppose. Fire crews in Denton County responded to a large fire burning at a car auction facility Sunday morning. Emergency services were dispatched at 1:32 a.m. to the car auction facility and found multiple vehicles on fire. A total of 58 vehicles have been involved. Fire crews put out the fire at 3:09 a.m. Now the Denton County Fire Marshal's office is investigating the incident. Here's the latest on the holiday travel rush. Millions of Americans are either returning home or heading to their New Year's Eve destinations, while also dealing with dangerous weather. So far, it seems things are pretty smooth, despite a major storm moving across the country.
Heavy snow pummeling parts of America's heartland. Authorities shutting down a portion of this highway near Elizabeth, Colorado, the area under a blizzard warning until Wednesday morning. And from Denver to the Kansas border, I-70 eastbound closed for a time, drivers being diverted off the interstate. People trying to navigate the slick, snow-covered roads. Similar scenes in Nebraska where drivers have been facing whiteout conditions. Parts of I-80 closed after a big pileup. The dangerous weather right in the middle of the holiday travel rush. The same system now heading east. Many are already dealing with dense fog in New York and Boston. Haunting morning fog also delaying some passengers in Manchester, New Hampshire.
And I got another text on the way to the airport. My flight on December 26th from Manchester now departs at 11:07, but now I think it's actually delayed even more.
Meanwhile, in Atlanta, some passengers tell us they waited over an hour and a half in the security line.
So I think we're going to wait probably twice as long as our flight. Our flight is 2 hours, but we're already an hour and a half in.
This is how long we've been standing in line.
We're still in the overflow area.
Yeah.
But overall, things have been pretty smooth. So far, delays and cancellations limited. And this holiday travel season keeps breaking records. The TSA says on Friday alone, it screened 2.7 million passengers. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
The Texas Supreme Court has asked the state's medical board to offer doctors guidance on interpreting the exception to the state's abortion ban. You can read the Texas Tribune article on our website, crossroadstoday.com. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell so then you can see Crossroads Today on YouTube. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10. Tragedy in Chicago after a 5-year-old girl has been found dead in an apartment fire. Also ahead, respiratory illnesses are moving across the country at an elevated level. We hear the latest from the CDC. This morning in Chicago, a 5-year-old girl died in an apartment fire. An ambulance driving noticed the fire after seeing smoke coming from inside the top floor of the apartment building. Firefighters later responded and found the girl's body on a bed. She had been pronounced dead at the scene. A man is currently in the hospital with non-life-threatening burns. An infant and a 6-year-old were also home at the time of the fire, but they are expected to be okay. In Mississippi, a correctional officer is dead, shot and killed by another correctional officer. The shooting took place this afternoon in the parking lot at the East Mississippi Corrections Facility in Meridian. Investigators say the two officers got into an altercation moments before the gunfire. Other officials at the prison quickly responded and arrested the shooter. The Lauderdale County Sheriff's Office is investigating the incident. The numbers are rising for young onset dementia. Now, young onset dementia means the cognitive decline that one experiences years before signs of dementia sets in, which can be as early as 30. Research showed some of the more surprising risk factors are social isolation, hearing loss, and low vitamin D. A person's socioeconomic status and ability to obtain higher education was also a factor. Flu and COVID-19 ER visits and hospitalizations are rising across the country. The CDC is monitoring high activity of respiratory illnesses in at least 9 states, many in the South. This as several other states are facing high levels of respiratory viruses.
While this time of year is known for holiday gatherings, it's also peak time for spreading viruses. More than a dozen states are seeing high or very high levels of respiratory illnesses per CDC data. With the southeast and south central areas of the country currently reporting the highest level of activity, with a 200% increase in the flu, 60% increase in RSV cases, and more than 50% increased rate of COVID-19 spreading. ABC's Dr. Darian Sutton explains the current rising numbers.
A couple of reasons why. It's colder, we move closer, that increases transmission. There's evidence that COVID reduces our immune response, which can make us more susceptible to infection.
There's also a new COVID-19 variant spreading, a subvariant of the Omicron listed as a variant of interest. CDC's data shows that COVID rates are up for the 6th straight week. This while vaccination rates lag. Only 18.5% of people have gotten an update in their COVID vaccine.
You want to make sure that you have that protection, that high quality mask, washing your hands, making sure you're updated on your vaccines, and always preparing for the highest risk person in the room.
Doctors also recommend RSV vaccines for babies under 8 months, pregnant women, and adults who are 60 years or older.
While the CDC is tracking growing flu hospitalizations, data shows the number of new admissions still remains low. So that's good news. But all this an important reminder to practice preventative measures, especially this time of the year. Melissa Adon, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Data from a logistics company has shown more than 80% of merchants are now charging a fee for some returns. Several stores have added shipping fees for mail-in returns. One reason companies charge fees is because it hurts their profitability. They have to cover the cost of the shipping fees and then have to mark down the returned goods to sell them. Data from the National Retail Federation showed customers sent back nearly 17% of the merchandise they bought last year. Here's a reviewer poll this evening. Scan that QR code on your screen to vote. Here's the question. Did you return any gifts today? Yes or no? Let's look at the numbers. 9% of our voters said yes, they did. 91% said no, they were happy with their gifts. All right, thanks for voting.
All right, are we going to be happy with our temperatures? Well, we'll talk about that coming up in just a little bit. All right, again, happy day after Christmas. Some of you back to work. Most of you still on Christmas break for school, and a lot of you on vacation from work as well, enjoying the food and family and the cooler weather. Yeah, cooler weather. So a couple breezy days, some cloud cover, some ample sun too. Now I'm going to break this down why I got cloud cover and sunshine. We're going to go into that in just a moment, but we warmed to 60 degrees today. Yesterday we were right at 60 as well. Day before though, 75 degrees on Christmas Eve day. Then that boundary came through, rang out all the moisture from our previous days of rain and cooled us down all at the same time. Look at that, back in 2016, 84 degrees, a beach day the day after Christmas. And yeah, here's where we're supposed to be, mid-60s. We will get back to that, and we'll break that down again in the next few minutes. Okay, so what is happening? We got a perfect combination is when winds will start to lighten up later in the week, high pressure clearing out our skies, pulling the cool, dry, sinking air down from the northwest. What does that mean? Some of these nights and mornings, yeah, we could start to see temperatures drop into the 30s, but the best chances will be Thursday and Friday night. That's our best opportunity to start seeing some of these 30-degree temperatures and maybe even freezing or below that in the remote regions away furthest from the water. So yeah, we could have some cold nights here and cold mornings with the afternoons not being too bad, 60s and eventually the 70s. Our dew points. Okay, I mean, this is important, but as our temperatures go down, not as stuffy, because these numbers were in the upper 60s a couple days ago, get knocked into the 30s and 40s. We will see a stronger return flow out of the Gulf later in the week. That'll warm us up. That also will increase our moisture levels once again. So what's going on? High pressure is moving in. Now, I talked about it. High pressure, signifies clear skies, dry conditions, and it is allowing the dry conditions. But again, as this cool, dry, sinking air undercuts this moisture, the warm, moist air, the less dense air, it's getting underneath it, lifting it up, and we are seeing some of this cloud, some of these clouds. And what does that mean? These clouds, they're limiting sunshine. That's keeping us cooler, but the clouds also hold in that heat overnight and in the morning, so we don't see the temperatures quite dropping. But as high pressure moves out and moisture does move in, high pressure will continue to follow in again later on in the week, continue to try to keep our skies thinned out, cloud-wise that is. And with that, yeah, we can start to see those temperatures later in the week, maybe Thursday, Friday. We could see some 30s here in the crossroads. But high pressure is going to control us. And again, as that moisture moves in later in the week, we could get back into the upper 60s and into the 70s temperature-wise. Here's our marine forecast. So 63 degrees. We'd see still, they're at 2 to 3, but they were at 4 to 6 to 7 a couple of days ago, still chopping up the water. So yeah, bay's still on that choppy side. Overnight, very seasonal, but hey, we were warmer, so that might feel a little bit on the chilly side for us. But I like tomorrow. Look at this. So 2 days after Christmas, mid-60s, just a couple degrees below average, lots of sunshine, winds not too bad. Hey, I'll sign up for that right here and now. I think Don Brubaker will, and I think Zach will as well. Yeah, Don's giving me a thumbs up. And let's see, Zach's thumbs up too. So the only thing is, we're going to see some 30s overnight later in the week, but hey, during the day, not too bad with the sunshine. But I mentioned eventually we get back in those 70s later in the week, but we get closer to rain maybe about a week or so from now. For more weather, news, and sports, you can go to our app. That's at crossroadstoday.com. That is free with any Android and iPhone. And now we go to sports with Zach.
Well, the Texas State Bobcats and Rice Owls gone bowling. The Bobcats trying to get that first ever bowl win. I'll have that in sports. Well, girls hoops have been killing it in the Crossroads area. We've got 3 teams ranked in their respective class. We've got the Edna Cowgirls who come in ranked at number 22 in Class 3A. They just had Jashanti Guetta reach her 1,000th career point, but the girls are loaded. They were great last year, just had a tough loss in the playoffs, but look primed to maybe go even further. In Class 4A, we've got the Cuero Lady Gobblers who come in ranked at number 21 and a record of 20-3. The girls so far have only had one district game. They have another one this Friday at 11 a.m. against Fox Tech. They will look to go 2-0 in district play. Also of note, the girls have scored a total of 1,403 points this year, only allowed 704. So that's a pretty good differential. And last but certainly not least, the Shiner ladies. They are ranked at number 18 in Class 2A, coming in with a record of 14-2, and they are winners of 7 in a row. As a matter of fact, their last loss was to Cuero in a tough 40-30 battle. Of course, that was a non-district battle, but it was an iron sharpens iron situation between 2 area powerhouses. And speaking of Shiner, former Comanche Dalton Brooks and the Texas A&M Aggies looking for a win in the Texas Bowl tomorrow, but trying to get the lasso tournament win as well. Brooks missed his first attempt, so they pull it back. They're going to give him another shot. They recoil it, and Brooks looking to see if he can lasso the bull. Look at it, and he got it. Dalton Brooks, the star out of Shiner. Now, Oklahoma State did take the lasso tournament, but maybe the Aggies can get the win tomorrow. Well, the Cowboys lost on Sunday. The Eagles with a chance to put a stranglehold on that division. The Eagles taking on the Giants. Christmas version, pounding New York 20-3, and they get the ball first to start the second half. But Philly, in the season of giving, they gift wrapped the Giants the ball, and it would lead to a Saquon Barkley touchdown. Late in the third quarter, score still the same. Hurts throws a pick 6, and they go for 2 and get it. But the Eagles do escape with a win. They have a 1-game lead with just 2 to go. The late night showdown, a potential Super Bowl preview, battle of 2 number 1 seeds, but it was the Baltimore Ravens who marched into Santa Clara and took the victory over the 49ers. Lamar Jackson, big day. Brock Purdy had a pretty bad day, threw 4 picks, and it may have cost him an MVP, and that's going to lead us to your viewer poll. Is Lamar Jackson now the front runner for MVP? Looking at the results, only 28% of you say yes. 72% say no. I mean, unless it's Tyreek or A.J. Brown. I mean, it's got to be Lamar Jackson. I don't know what the 28% sees. But okay, well, we've got some history in the college ranks, and it involves the Texas State Bobcats. They are going to get a pick 6 right here. That's going to open up the lead a bit. That crowd was loud. They traveled very well, and it was worth it. They got to see a big man touchdown. This right here, offensive lineman Nash Jones. What a way to cap off your first ever bowl victory, and what a job by first-year head coach G.J. Kinney. Texas State wins the First Responder Bowl 45-21. And the Detroit Pistons have lost 27 straight. The Spurs and Rockets lose as well. That's it for your sports. Don, back to you.
Zach, thank you. By the way, that bowl game win was with Kenny Haynes playing linebacker tonight for Texas State.
Yeah, you told me about that. Yeah,
the Cowboys
great. Star.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely. Zach, thank you. And stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10, we'll take a last look at your weather. Plus, today marks the first day of Kwanzaa. Tuesday marks the first day of the week-long celebration of Kwanzaa. The name comes from a Swahili phrase which means first fruits. Created in 1966, the holiday is a non-religious observation of African Americans' ancestral roots that celebrates 7 core principles. The principles include creativity, collective responsibility, self-determination, faith, and purpose. The celebration of Kwanzaa ends on the first day of the new year. It's been a December to remember in China. Beijing just broke its record for hours of sub-zero temperatures in December, a feat set back in 1951. A cold wave swept through the country, sending temperatures towards historic lows. As of Christmas Eve, a weather observatory recorded more than 300 hours of below freezing temperatures since December 11th. The capital has also endured 9 consecutive days of temperatures below -10 Celsius or 14 degrees Fahrenheit. They are getting, now I like the snowman part. I can dig the snowman part, but 14 degrees, no.
That's great to visit for a week or 10 days a year, but I'd rather have the weather down here. I mean, yeah, it gets really hot, but it's hot all over this place in the summer, but the winters are beautiful. Yeah. Christmas Eve day, 75 degrees. Okay, we got knocked down into the 60s today, so that's beautiful.
We can handle that.
We can handle that. I agree with you completely. Let's take a look at what it's going to do. I mean, high pressure usually means smooth sailing, and it is in terms of storms. We're not looking at storms. The only thing is it's going to continue to pull that cool, dry air down from the northwest. And yeah, we could see Wednesday maybe in the 40s, but then Thursday, Friday, we could see temperatures dropping into the 30s. Overnight, 44 degrees, and tomorrow, oh, look at that. I'll sign up for that. I think both of you will too. And a lot of people I see in the crossroads raising your hand as well. Looking ahead though, here's what we got. I said a couple of those nights, yeah, into the 30s, but the daytime looking good with some nice sunshine.
Thank you, Howie. And finally tonight, Ollie the cat is believed to have made history today when the furry feline set sail as part of a boat's crew in an annual yacht race. Throughout the 78 years the race has run, there have been no official records of a cat on board until now. Ollie and his owner Bob Williams, a retired Navy officer, have sailed around the country for the past 5 years, with Williams describing Ollie as an experienced sailor. The two even made a trip across the Tasman Sea to New Zealand together.
Well, I think Ollie's already fully prepared. He's an experienced sailor. He's spent several years on the boat now. He's been to New Zealand and back. So I think he's got his sea legs. I think he's all good.
The duo and their co-skipper Chris Warren set off to Hobart on board the oldest boat in the race, the Sylph 6. The trio don't expect to compete with the Super Maxis, who led the fleet out of Sydney's harbor, but they hope to arrive in Hobart before New Year's Eve. And in tribute to Ollie being on board, they are taking the boat, the catamaran, on the trip.
Catamaran?
Yeah. All right, there he is. So thank you for joining us for 25 News Now at 10. Join Carolina Astroin and meteorologist Parker Cox for 25 News Now Sunrise starting at 5 a.m. Good night, everybody.